Are you ready for yet another label on your food? As if we don't have enough. We have front of the box nutrition labels, we have non GMO labels, we have low sodium labels, we have a label for everything. Well, get ready for another one. So,
Ooh.
the the company behind the Non-GMO project, which is the little seal on products that say non-GMO, meaning it does not contain any ingredients that are genetically modified, they
Right.
are launching a new non-UPF verified certification. So that means that any product with this new label would be not ultra processed. And of course, ultra processed is like the ultimate buzzword right now. And I'm torn on this one because ultra processed in general gets a horrible bad name, a horrible bad rap. They are linked to everything from cancer to diabetes to, every diet condition. Okay, like a poor diet condition,
Right.
like all the chronic illnesses and stuff. But yet, not all UPFs are necessarily bad for you. And if you didn't see our previous thing, basically the easy way to tell if something is UPF or not is, can you make it at home with regular available ingredients? And so what normally throws something out of the UPF window is things like yogurt that require an emulsifier, things like egg whites. You can't just separate eggs and put them in a carton and boom, you've got egg whites. They would be
Right.
very unstable. If it requires a certain machinery to create something that you couldn't have a mini version in your kitchen, then that's going to be ultra processed. So here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Okay. So the the founder and CEO of the Non-GMO project, her name is Megan Westgate. She states that the standard American diet has become one of the leading risk factors for death worldwide. Yet navigating today's food landscape can seem like an impossible task. She continues by saying this isn't an accident. She says when tobacco companies acquired major food manufacturers in the 1980s, they deliberately applied their expertise in addiction science to food engineering. The result was a new generation of ultra processed foods designed with the same precision as cigarettes to trigger cravings and override our body's natural satiety signals. And that is basically to tell you when you're full or when you've had enough.
Right.
And so I don't know about you, but this totally made me want to pull out the old tinfoil hat because this just opened like a floodgate, a rabbit hole, a gosh knows what. But so I actually went down multiple things going, well, wait a minute. You never hear about tobacco companies having stakes in food companies.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is something we both kind of found out together and investigated a little bit. Like, blows my mind, but also when I really think about it, I'm not surprised. Not
And
surprised.
this really feeds into my food conspiracist, mentality
Yeah.
because when you look at the history of food, okay, you see, like she's saying, that in the 70s and the 80s, two of the biggest tobacco companies, we're talking RJ Reynolds,
Mhm.
Philip Morris,
Yeah.
they both acquired a bunch of food companies. And what kind of food companies? We're talking about Kraft, Nabisco, huge names, okay?
General Mills. Yeah.
General Mills. And now, when the tobacco companies were going through all of their court issues and were being sued and, being heavily regulated, they basically were not being valued very high on the stock market. So they decided to peel off their food manufacturing portfolio to one side and keep the tobacco as a separate company.
Yeah.
So technically still owned by the same company, they're just registered as two different companies. And it's kind of changed hands a couple times, particularly Kraft. They ended up merging with Heinz, and becoming Mondelez,
Yep.
which is ginormous. And so it still kind of has ties to its roots from when it was owned by Philip Morris. So what
Well,
she's saying does, it really does follow that timeline, that about the time that companies were owned by big tobacco also was the time of ultra processed foods.
right.
So I do get that kind of timeline thing there. And so it she does make some good points. She mentions that even the most informed consumers struggle to identify ultra processed foods consistently. Some are going to be obvious, okay?
Yeah.
Like if you look at a lot of salad dressings, okay?
Yeah.
If you pull up, like if you go to the shelf and you see where it has separated and you would normally have to shake it before using it, that may not be ultra processed. But
Yeah.
if you look at one that's consistent all the time, has no separating whatsoever, that's a pretty good indicator that they use an emulsifier to keep it from separating.
Yeah. I guess it
Perfect
depends on the
example.
base of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Think of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Your Jifs, your Peter Pan, they use emulsifiers, which comes in the form of different oils.
Oil. It's all
And
oil.
then, but when you buy natural peanut butter, it separates, therefore, it doesn't have emulsifiers.
Yeah.
So, while you could say that the peanuts are processed on both of them, the ultra processed would be the Peter Pan and the Jif, whereas the natural would just be processed because it is more than just peanuts because they had to be ground up and, basically gone through like a giant food processor.
Yeah. But
But it's
there, I
not
mean,
ultra processed because it doesn't
right.
have a bunch of added stuff that you wouldn't have in your kitchen at home.
Right. I mean,
So,
you look at the back and it just says peanuts and salt. That's the end of that. And like, okay. But if you look at the other, it has usually a thicker oil, like palm oil is often used as a stabilizer because it's thick. That's your friend for that
well,
one.
and palm oil is one of our favorite ingredients in quote unquote creamer, which
Yeah.
there was a lawsuit a while back about whether or not it could be called creamer because there's not actually cream in it.
Right.
It's just
There's
giving the
no, yeah.
illusion that it is similar to creamer, but it's not because a lot of them don't even have milk products in it,
the
or they just have
majority the majority
yeah,
don't have milk products in them at all.
yeah.
Like they've all
And
got this milky color.
technically, they don't even have to be refrigerated.
Right. They're just more
And a lot of
palatable that
them,
way.
um, the reason they were getting sued was because on some of these creamers it says ultra um,
Pasteurized?
pasteurized. Yes, ultra pasteurized. Well, if it doesn't have milk in it, it doesn't have to be pasteurized. So why would you put ultra pasteurized on a product that doesn't contain milk?
Right. And then the fun ones are the non-dairy options that are the oat milk and that like you've
It's almost like an alternative of an alternative.
yeah. Your non-dairy has a non-dairy alternative. Like, yeah, that makes that okay.
So the only issue I have here is, so already people have this like fear mongering about GMOs, okay, where all GMOs are bad no matter what it does, no matter what it is, it's bad. It will kill you. It'll give you cancer. It'll, make you grow a third head. But GMOs, though, are actually helpful when you look at it as a grand scale because it does give you bigger supplies. We would have, like, if we already have food insecurities now, I can only imagine if we no longer had GMO products. Okay. I think our food insecurity would be so much worse and our food would be way more expensive.
So that's a multi-tiered issue, right?
It is. It
So
is.
this is a can of
I'm
worms.
oversimplifying.
Prepare the can of worms. Because we already have we've talked about this massive amount of food waste that's completely
Mhm.
unnecessary based on grocery store standards, for one. Two, like, not all GMOs are bad. Like, things are considered GMO when they're crossbred between like different breeds of perfectly natural oranges because this one's stronger and these grow larger, so you crossbreed them. That's that's different than seeding seeds with pesticides from the jump. Like that's a
Yeah.
whole other animal in my opinion. But rabbit hole for another day.
So yeah, but so all I'm saying is that not all GMOs are bad, and I feel like this non-GMO label kind of gives the impression that, oh, this is a good product because it doesn't have GMOs. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And for the long time, it has kind of been a standard that if you were going to be non GMO, all you had to do was just eat organic food,
Yeah.
which then kind of goes into the whole lifestyle where people are like, oh, I can only eat organic because everything else will kill me. Back to the GMOs cause all these other things. So now, if we're going to start labeling stuff as non UPF, I think it might actually backfire on the organic community because there are plenty of organic products that, yes, they don't use GMO products, but they are ultra processed. And
Oh, for sure.
especially, like, think about plant based items like plant based meat and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
all ultra processed. So you will never be able to find some of these vegan products that are not, that would have this label because they could not be created at home. Therefore, they are super ultra processed.
Yeah.
And they're the kind of foods that I like to think of as like Franken foods because you couldn't make them at home even if you had access, because a lot of them take special machinery. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking about 3D printing pea protein like we were last week, but I mean, I have no clue how to turn walnuts into hard boiled eggs. Like, I don't have a machine for that.
No, I don't either. I don't.
So,
I can see how you could make that happen though. But
no.
again, that's neither here nor there. So I know exactly where you're coming from, and I think the objective is to make people more aware. But yeah, there are instances where that's going to backfire because like it's milk, it's
Oh,
like egg
okay.
whites. We were talking about egg whites, like
Yeah.
the most simple of things.
How about cottage cheese? So,
Oh yeah.
because of TikTok, cottage cheese sales actually grew insane. Like we're talking about like an 8 to 9% growth year over
It's
year, which is huge in the
wild.
dairy market. Okay.
Yeah.
Cottage cheese is ultra processed.
Yeah.
And a lot of people consider cottage cheese a health food. Now,
Yeah.
don't you think the sales of cottage cheese are going to go down as soon as you see that it does not have this non UPF label on it, that
I
if
don't
you're mega
necessarily.
self, if you're super health conscious and you
Yeah.
follow all of these labels and these regulations, you're just going to stop buying that product because none of them, think of yogurt,
Yeah.
all commercially made yogurt, meaning you did not make it at home,
Hmm.
has emulsifiers in
Yeah.
it. So therefore, no yogurt on the market is going to have this label on it.
No, I agree,
So does
but
that
I
does
think
that
it's
make
kind of.
all yogurt bad?
I think it's kind of no, absolutely not, because we know that. I think it's kind of the reverse. Like when I think about it, like if you're looking at, say, you're looking at a shelf of cookies, right? You've got 12 different brands of cookies, and you're trying to determine, okay, what's the least of my evils here? Okay. And you see a cookie that has the non UPF label on it, which would be surprising, right?
Yeah.
I think you, one, I'd be like, okay, what makes that cookie different? Because that's how I operate and I would want to read more into it. But maybe it does have someone making a better choice for themselves because there are fewer ingredients in it, or it's
Doesn't have
less.
all the crazy preservatives that some like your Oreos
Right.
would have.
Maybe that's more of what they're looking for, is trying to get people to recognize that you can have some of these items, but it's it's just a different, because I don't recognize when something's lacking the non-GMO project seal, but I recognize if it's there. Does that make sense? Like
Well,
it's like,
I've noticed there's a lot of these trends right now, and I hate to say trends, but I'm just saying movements in the food space. Okay, not
yeah,
necessarily a trend, but just a growing movement of people, and it's I hate to say that it kind of started with the whole diet culture thing,
it
where, oh,
probably
we
did.
cannot eat full fats. Okay,
It did.
we cannot eat that much sugar. And then the newer ones have been the people that went gluten free, even though they didn't have celiac or any type of gluten issues. And then I'm sure you've seen where a lot of people are purposely avoiding all artificial colorings,
Yeah,
like the red threes and red 40s and all that. But
yeah,
then they take it a step further. Okay. Like you have these two different waves in the anti dye area. One where they just don't want any artificial dyes. And then you have another one where they don't want like caramel coloring, annatto, which if you buy an orange cheese, it has annatto to get the
yeah.
coloring. And so you have people that cracks me up. They will buy white cheddar because it's healthier than orange cheddar. Okay?
But
Just
taste
because
it.
it has that coloring. And
Yeah,
so it becomes, even back to the argument of what is all natural, because technically natural does not have a scientific definition.
right.
And so I feel like people sometimes jump on a wave and they go to extremes. And so I feel like if the way that this is promoted, people are either going to trust this symbol and not buy anything without the symbol, and then they're going to miss out on some healthy products,
Yeah.
or it's just going to become like background color and like nobody's really going to notice it at all.
I can see both sides of those. I can also say that I kind of don't hate that the gluten free thing went as far as it has because I have a friend who had severe celiac and like she would go to eat somewhere and the french fries would be breaded and there was nothing to say that they were. And she got them and ate them and then was hospitalized for 2 days because she didn't know. But
Yeah.
like when you but because it did go so far and so many people adapted that lifestyle, she's got more options than she's ever had. Whereas before it may have been like a bread option that's in the frozen section and that was it. So like I can see where some of it is can be beneficial, but I can also see how it's exploited on the back end of things. Like when we have like invert sugars that were made and artificial sweeteners and bastardizations of people's perceptions of things. So everything comes at a cost. Like that's the
Yeah.
crap part. Like you're hoping that people take this data and use it to make better choices, but it's going to be exploited somewhere along the line. You just
And,
corporations are going to corporate. So
and that's where my concern is that if you have this label and people respect it and seek it out, there are always going to be winners and losers. There are going to be people, certain products like cottage cheese and egg whites and yogurt that are going to be labeled as losers, and potentially they could actually, like, their market share could go down,
yeah,
whereas a company that makes, crackers or cookies or whatever, all of a sudden their sales are going to shoot up simply for the fact that they have this label,
right.
but that might not necessarily be any healthier,
Yeah.
and it comes back to that whole moderation thing. People go to such extremes with food that if they just practice moderation, then they could have the best of all the things. But they always compare, like, oh, you can't have this one piece of candy because that'll kill you. Well, no, you would have to eat 1,200 candies for it to kill you. But then again, if I ate 1,200 apples, I would probably explode. I'm just saying that it the the poison is in the dosage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That individual servings of items are not going to cause diabetes and heart disease and da da da. It's if you eat it every single day, 12 times a day, then yes, they would contribute. But that doesn't mean you
So,
can't ever eat those items again.
so to quote two things we've gone over before. One, the cigarette companies owning the food companies and creating addictive ingredients and behaviors. That's one. And then I had another one from one of our previous podcasts that would have, and it's gone. It left my brain. It said, "Hey, perimenopause, I'm gonna take this one from you. Snatch. Boop. Bye."
Ooh,
But
you got to get some post-it notes. Write that crap down.
apparently, but like, we're all just out here raw dogging life, trying to make the best choices. And for some people, that may make better impacts on their daily operations. Like, I cut soda out completely because it was messing with my stomach, but it didn't stop me from wanting it. And that sucked. Like, what's wild is I didn't want one until I saw one. And the moment I saw one, I was done. I was like, gimme. And I
Well, I
had to
mean,
cut
it's
it
like
out.
I was talking to a lady the other night who she cut out all grains, like
Hmm.
bread, rice, pasta, the whole 9 yards. And she said the first couple of days she was fine. And then all of a sudden she said it was almost as as if she had like a true addiction. Her body craved this stuff. She said she thought she was going to go insane. And
Yeah.
she's like, what do you do? Do you call 911 and say, I'm willing to kill somebody for a pizza? Like, she was going like crazy, you know?
I could murder
And
over a pizza. I won't, but I could want to.
I
But yeah.
mean, look at what people will do for a Klondike bar. I am more likely to do something for a pizza than I am a Klondike bar. Just
I
saying.
know. Same.
Or a taco or a burrito. I'm
Mm.
just saying, like I have tears and Klondike is kind of low.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I'm just saying that, like, to me, that type of lifestyle where you are cutting out everything with grain in it
Yeah.
is similar to those that cut out everything with sugar. Your body needs a little bit of everything. Now, could she have just cut severely back or just, reduced and
Yeah.
had long term results? But no, obviously, what she's going for is very quick results. And they've shown that when you remove all these things from your diet completely, yes, you can maintain that for a little bit, but then you're going to crash. And then what do? You binge like crazy. So all I'm saying is that if somebody wanted to go completely UPF free, no more ultra processed foods, sure, they could do it for a couple days, but then their body's going to just crave it. And I just wish that we would make moderation the normal and the extremes be what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, yes, have the Oreos, have the cookies, have the gravy mix, but use them sparingly
Mm.
so you can have them over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Don't eat them every single day.
No, I think that's part of it is like I think that's what the perimenopause stole from me was that the average American has was it at least one ultra processed food every single day,
No,
whether they
they are
know it or
claiming
not.
that 50% of the American diet, like, so for every day, you are going to get more than 50% of your calories from ultra processed foods.
And
But
I
then
can
again,
see
too,
that.
that can be leading to, being taken out of context
Yeah.
because a Pop Tart is 200 calories, but I could also eat like a whole bushel of zucchini for 200 calories. So, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
if you're just basing it on calories, most of the food that's not ultra processed has very low
Is
calories. So, you see
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
less
It's very
calorie
easy to take that
dense.
out of context.
No, but it also means that you're eating a hell of a lot of calories of ultra processed foods. Like even at
Right.
50%, like honestly,
But I'm
you
just saying,
could,
if in
yeah,
one day
yeah,
I ate an entire bushel of zucchini
you'd
and
be
one Pop
pooping
Tart,
so bad.
and
I
I'm
would
not sure
not.
from which one, but let's just say
Yes,
it
the
was
answer is
it was a
yes.
super organic Pop Tart while I was at it,
It's
non-GMO,
delicious. Leave my Pop Tarts alone. I don't
whatever.
need your judgment.
Is that healthier than somebody who ate, you know, all processed food completely? You know what I
Or
mean? So it's like,
it's not
but
healthy to
both
eat
a
an entire bushel of
bushel
zucchini,
of
though, either.
zucchini. But I'm just
That's,
saying
yeah,
that
but
there's so
it's the
many extremes
balance.
you can take with that. So I just If
Yeah, I know.
people took this as a recommendation, as this could possibly be a healthier food if eaten in moderation, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean if you don't have the label that this item cannot be eaten, then I'm okay with it. But I just think that people are going to look at this as, oh, I cannot eat this ever again because it doesn't have a non UPF label.
I think
That's
the people that care already care. They're already looking at the labels. They're already reading the
I
ingredients. They're already trying to do better. And the people who don't care, the people who don't have these things on their radar, aren't going to give a shit. Like that's the difference, in my opinion.
I still hold to the belief that there are people out there that are buying all organic products, refuse to eat GMOs, and it all comes down to marketing. They have
Yeah,
been sold to this this lie that says that as long as what you eat is organic, it is healthy for you and it will not cause you cancer. Because I hear people tell me, I'm serious, that tell me all the time, I don't want cancer and that's why I eat all organic. Okay? One does not cause the other. They have proven that when you put an organic item next to an unorganic, a regular commercially grown,
yeah,
that the nutrient value is very close, you
right.
know.
Yeah,
And so I'm just saying that if you can, if you have a gazillion dollars, then it is a privilege if you want to eat all organic everything.
right.
Okay? But the average American cannot afford that lifestyle and honestly doesn't have to because eating non organic or eating GMO products, you're not going to grow a third head and all of a sudden have cancer of the toe. Okay? It's not going to happen that way. There's
There's
my
no way.
soapbox.
I, yeah, there's people are doing things for what they feel like can help them the most. And honestly, like we placebo effect can be more powerful sometimes than anything else. So like if you've that's the wild part. Like and it's
Okay.
the,
Did you
nobody's gonna
know?
get out of this alive. Nobody's gonna get out of this alive. We're just trying to do
Nobody,
the
yeah,
best we can.
nobody's gonna, 76% of people that take a multivitamin do so because they think it's going to prevent heart disease, cancer, chronic conditions, da da da. And there is no amount of multivitamin that you can take to actually make a difference in those things.
All right.
Just say it
Well, it
is a
helps me
placebo
poop.
effect. People take them because they feel like they're doing something good for their health. And you may be, just slightly improving something, but it's not like, oh, she got cancer because she didn't take a multivitamin.
Man, I would lose my mind. It does help me poop though. So
There you go. At the end of the day, eat what helps you poop.
you're not wrong.
No, fiber is king. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, as a woman, if you don't have enough fiber, you're lacking, literally lacking.
Yeah. In all the ways. More fiber, please.
More fiber, please.